can't shift until I get more money, right? What is that? That's an effort to make the external conditions right. I can't shift until fill in the blank. But it's not about the external conditions. It's about the internal conditions. And what are the internal conditions that I was being asked to cultivate and develop? 5-letter word begins with a T, ends in a T. It's called trust. 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 And once I could develop and cultivate the right internal conditions, trust me, the external conditions would respond. So we are moving and working at the level of cause, not effect. Hallways are about moving beyond the effects and appearances of life and getting to the causal level. Some of you have heard me use this metaphor before about the mirror. You look in the mirror, you see a feather on your nose. You try to move the feather by smacking the mirror. Doesn't work. Only way to move the feather is to bring the hand to the nose, right? To come to self. And so, whatever the circumstances are, when we are trying to manipulate the external conditions with all of our effort, we're smacking the mirror. The shift that hallways beg of us is an internal one. It's an inside job. So I was being asked to trust that God, spirit, the universe, life, whatever you call it, was supporting me. That I am enough and am supported enough to stand in the next greatest and greatest version of my life. And why is this an important thing? It's an important thing because there has been no time when that hasn't been the case. Even when things didn't feel good. Right, so I look at my daughter, and she has what she needs to go from crawling to walking to running. And if it works for infants, at what point did it stop working for us? Right? But we will look at the circumstance and say, well, we don't have enough. It's just not here. But there's always been a universal collusion to help you grow and develop. That is, you're breathing air. Your cells are running through processes of mitosis and meiosis and all that other great stuff that you aren't consciously aware of, but's happening to support your growth. Everything is colluding to help you live right now, even if life is difficult. So why wouldn't it also be colluding to help you grow? So the work for me was trust. And the rule number 1 was that hallways are internal. So whatever you're thinking about the change in your life, know that the first focus is on you. What is happening inside of you? And when I say internal, what am I talking about? I'm talking about your beliefs. I'm talking about your mindsets. I'm talking about your feelings about yourself and the world, or your relationship to the world. That's what I mean when I say it's an inside job. Because our beliefs and our mindsets and our attitudes and our feelings are what drives our behaviors. Our behaviors don't spontaneously generate where they sort of just come out of the air. They're attached to something. And the forces that drive our behaviors are our beliefs and our feelings and our attitudes and our mindsets. They are the invisible infrastructure or the invisible architecture of our lives. They are the foundation. You change the belief, the attitude, the mindset, you change the entire structure. So, we shift. We shift from expending so much energy when we're in a hallway, to controlling what's happening outside of us, to a greater awareness of what's happening inside of us. And the first thing we do is take an honest look at the status quo. An honest look at the status quo. Right? So you all have the sheets in front of you in the box. Is the status quo?
Flora is going to need one.
Okay. You have no pen, right? If you need any extra, we'll give you extra. So, I want you to call into your awareness right now the status quo that no longer fits. And write a couple of words description about it. A couple of words. This is just a prompt for you. Nobody else is going to see it. You'll know what you mean. So nobody has to decipher your handwriting. But what's the existing reality that no longer fits? And if you're like, well, Rebecca, I don't know what doesn't fit. I'm going to say just search your experience and see whatever you don't feel good about. Because our feelings do not lie. The reason I asked you to call this into your conscious mind is that they are acting on us, right? This status quo can often show up as just, there's a sense of dissatisfaction that's sort of moving. There's an undercurrent, but it's an undercurrent. Sometimes it's real obvious and it's real loud. But other times it's more subtle than that. And we just want to call it out. We want to bring it up. Because if we bring it up, we can do something about it. The second thing I want you to think about, just a few words, is what ties you to the status quo? What is binding you to it? You may not have all the answers when you do this at home, right? You may end up getting a whole lot more, right? But what was binding me to my profession, which is no longer as fulfilling as it was my belief that it was the source of my stability. And I held on to that belief even after my husband got a job and blah, 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 and yada, 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 right? But this is the source of my stability. It's also a big source of my identity. Right? So I am known as the senior consultant for blah, blah, blah. It's a big piece of how I see myself and how other people see me. So there's some status attachments. I've invested a lot in it. I have degrees and blah, blah, blah. Right? These are the kinds of things that are binding me to the known world. So think about, what are some of the things that are binding you to your known world that no longer fits? It's not bad, it just doesn't fit anymore. Come up with at least 3 things, because I know you can do it.
I got 5 already.
We have our high achievers. Yes, our high achievers. Now, I am sure you can go on, so I want you to continue this at home, too. But again, we want to call them into our conscious mind. And the reason is because the things that bind us to the status quo reality are often operating subconsciously. It's like we're running a program, right? So you automatically, when you open your computer and you try to connect to the